So, good morning. We will talk about biochemistry today. So, whenever you are unable to understand anything, please stop me and ask the question. Otherwise, I will not understand. Okay. So, today we will talk about the first part of biochemistry, that is the energetics or thermodynamics and its implication in biology. So, how can we define bioenergetics? Before I start, just tell me if I am audible or not. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
are you able to see the slide?
yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, fine, fine. So we go on to bioenergetics. So as we know that life is an energy intensive process, and because it takes energy to operate muscles, extract waste, make new cells, heal wounds, even to think and attend classes, your body needs energy. So, where the study of energy system inside the body is very important in biology. The first thing, it's very important. And what is this bioenergetics? It is a discipline within biochemistry which is dedicated to the study of energy flow within living systems. So, within living systems, how energy flows on one hand from your producer to primary consumer to secondary consumer to tertiary consumer to detritivores. This is on the ecology side. On the other side, you have how energy from a molecule of glucose is broken down into energy units known as ATP. So, on one side, you have it on ecology, on the other side, you have on biochemistry. Even and then some people will argue on one side, you have it on physiology, which I would also consider a part of biochemistry. So all aspects of biology require energy for maintenance. So for life to exist, one thing has to be certain, that there must be a state of disequilibrium. Life is a process of disequilibrium. Once this equilibrium is reached, from the state of disequilibrium, you come to a process known as death. So always energy is utilized to put something against the concentration gradient. On one side you have something in excess, on the other side you have something low, no, not in excess. But as per life definition, if you allow equilibrium to occur, both sides will become equal, and then no processes will be able to take place, and that is death. So always there is a process like ATP pumps. What will it will do? It will take things from a lower potential and place it in a higher potential, so that there is a potential difference. Always there is. For example, during nerve impulse or during membrane resting potential, you will find that it is at minus 70 millivolts in the nerves. So you have excess sodium outside and less sodium inside, and you have excess potassium inside and less sodium outside. Still, against it, they use energy, and what they do, they maintain this the disparity or difference in the concentration of sodium and potassium from outside and inside, and that results in a membrane potential, and this results in various conduction of nerve impulses. This is very the essence of thermodynamics in biology, that life always goes to a state of disequilibrium. It uses energy to go to a state of disequilibrium, and in death you come to a state of equilibrium. Now the question is, what is energy? Energy, it is the capacity to perform work. You have kinetic energy and you have potential energy. Now, work from physics, it has to have some sort of movement or displacement which has to take place. So you have a mass into acceleration. So you have something. So if you push against a wall, although you are doing a workout and you'll have lots of muscles developing, but actually the work done is nil. But in biology, you measure it in terms of energy spent. So there are two types of energies: kinetic energy and potential energy. Potential energy is the energy present by the presence of its concentration. So if you have something at a higher energy, and it has got a tendency to go to from high to low, from high slope to low slope, from high potential to low potential, as it happens, as you have seen, it happens in the electron transport chain. It goes the highly energized electron goes from different photosystem, and that energy is used to pump hydrogen ion from inside the mitochondria into the intermembrane space of the mitochondria, and that establishes a potential which is eventually responsible for moving the complex 5 or ATP synthase, and that works like a turbine, and that energy is used to construct ATP molecules. When ADP and a phosphate molecule with energy, they bind and they form ATP. And kinetic energy. For example, you take a pen, you lift the pen on the top, the pen has got high potential energy. But if you release it, it falls on the ground, and then at that moment it can break or it can shatter, and that is because of the kinetic energy. Energy because present because of its motion, not because of its configuration. Because of its configuration or conformation, that means I place it on the top, I hold it at the top, it has got high potential energy. I leave it, it falls on the ground, and that energy, that sound which comes out, that is because of its kinetic energy. So far clear? বুঝতে পারছো? উত্তর দিতে পারো তো প্লিজ? তোর শুনতে পাচ্ছ, বুঝতে পারছো?
Yes,
হ্যাঁ
sir.
স্যার।
ওকে, ওকে। So kinetic energy is in the process of doing work, energy of motion. So what heat, light. Basically, from the sun you have heat, light. You can have sometimes when something strikes, when the ball strikes the bat, then it's a kinetic energy. But because and that you have a sound, that's also part of the kinetic energy. So because of its motion or the process of doing work, that is kinetic energy. And potential energy is energy that matter occupies because of its location, arrangement, or position. I had explained this just now. For example, water in a dam, chemical energy in gas. You press gas, you have the gas has got high potential energy, and then it can move a piston and a car moves. What you do, you spray some fuel vapors inside the fuel tank, and then an ignition plug, a spark plug takes place, and then the gas catches fire, and that petrol catches fire and gas is formed. That gas moves the piston, with the piston moves your wheels, and the car moves. This keeps on and the gas is released sometimes. So thermodynamics, what do you study in thermodynamics? The study of energy transformation that occurs in a collection of matter. So you study energy transformations. What you do is you study energy transformation. Energy is transformed from one part to another, or matter is converted into energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can be converted into matter. Similarly, matter can neither be created nor destroyed. It can be converted into energy. So the study of energy transformations, high energy to low energy to high energy, is something which you study in thermodynamics. So there are two laws. The first law of thermodynamics, and the second law of thermodynamics. There are other laws known as zeroth law, but from the perspective of a biologist, it's not that important. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, but only converted to other forms. Heat can be converted into light, electric energy can be converted into heat energy. So, this means that the amount of energy in the universe is constant. So, since it is not lost, it is constant. Although nowadays there are some controversies regarding this from quantum mechanics, but this is more or less it is constant. This is the first law of thermodynamics. So whatever in your ecosystem, whatever energy is present in your ecosystem, that is constant. It is only converted from the sunlight is converted into sugars made by the primary producers like grasses, and that is converted into flesh when it is eaten by the primary consumers. That sugar is eaten, and then that sugar is converted into proteins, and that protein is eaten by secondary consumers. So it is and then that secondary consumer dies, it is then converted back into elements, energy is released. So all these essentially all these processes which take place, they it's all because of the first law of thermodynamics. The first law is not of much help. What prevents an melting ice cube from spontaneously refreezing? First thing, why doesn't water flow uphill? Will L-alanine convert into D-alanine? So the energy of the system and its surrounds won't change. If it does not occur, what is the driving force? নিজে নিজে কিছু হবে না, কিন্তু there is some driving force behind it. জাস্ট হোল্ড অন, আমার গরম লাগছে, তাই জন্য আমি যে জ্যাকেটটা খুললাম। If it does not occur, then what is this driving force? And this actually, this second law helps to resolve these problems. Only those events that results in a net increase in disorder will occur spontaneously. So there has to be a disorder. Only that will work only when there is a net increase in disorder spontaneously. For example, outside, your hot coffee or hot tea will become cold because energy will dissipate from your cup to the out surroundings, and what happens, the air around surrounding becomes warm, and warm means all the gas molecules will move on and there is a disorder. So all energy transformations are inefficient because every reaction results in an increase in entropy and the loss of usable energy as heat. So suppose 100 kilojoules of sunlight are falling on a plant, and that unfortunately the plant doesn't make you utilize it. It hardly utilizes 0.001% of that is converted into sugar energy. And that sugar energy, as you know, you have heard about the 10% law. So only 10% is retained and the 90% is lost. And how is this 90% lost in organisms? This 90% is lost as heat. So after eating food, heat is released. So all the food is not converted into muscles. For example, that food is released from your body as heat. And that is lost. That is a loss of unusable energy. So what is entropy? Entropy is disorder in a system. For example, if you heat water, suddenly the molecules of water starts to move, and that is known as entropy or disorder. Dhai, molecules are moving from here to there, and that is known as entropy. So this is what the second law of thermodynamics predicts. So what can cells do with energy? Cells use energy for chemical work, biochemical reactions, mechanical work. So you're moving your body, muscle contraction and everything. Electrochemical work, nerve impulses flowing. Sodium is going inside, potassium is coming inside. There is a depolarization of the membrane, and you have because this depolarization spreads along the nerve fibers, and electric Current flows along your nerve, and then it stimulates the muscles to do the work. So the cells utilize energy for this particular process. বুঝতে পারছো? হ্যাঁ কি না বলো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
ওকে. So in some cells, as much as half of a cell's energy output is used to transfer molecules across the cell membrane, a process known as active transport. Like I was saying, so you have sodium in high concentration outside the cell, and inside the cell you have low concentration of sodium. A lot of energy of in the form of ATP is hydrolyzed, and sodium from inside is moved to outside. মানে নিচের থেকে উপরে জলটাকে তুলছে, মানে মলিকিউলটাকে লো কনসেন্ট্রেশন থেকে হাই কনসেন্ট্রেশনে পাঠাচ্ছে, দ্যাট ইজ এনার্জি খরচ করে। তো এই এনার্জি এগুলো দরকার। এবারে দুদিকেই যদি সোডিয়াম সেম থাকে, no nerve impulse and body is dead. So cell movements require energy and thousands of energy hungry chemical reactions to go on in every living cell, every second, every day. The kind of energy cells uses chemical bond energy, the shared electron that holds atoms together in molecules. Covalent bond কে break করে প্রচুর energy release হয়. So chemical bond which is formed প্রচুর এনার্জি দিয়ে বন্ডটাকেও তৈরি করতে হয়, বন্ড ভাঙলে প্রচুর এনার্জি ইজ অলসো রিলিজড। সো টু ক্রিয়েট আ কেমিক্যাল বন্ড you need lots of energy to break when you break a chemical bond, a lot of energy is also released. ATP ke bhangle you have energy released. ADP plus PPI, inorganic phosphate, is released, and lot of energy is also released at the same time. Now we talk about what is enderogonic and exergonic reactions. So enderogonic reaction is chemical reaction that requires a rate net input of energy. যার energy দরকার, sunlight energy in the form of photons. What it does, it 6 carbon dioxide and 6 water molecule, it forms glucose. So this is a enderogonic, when it requires energy, and this energy is taken from sunlight, and that is converted into glucose. And this glucose energy, this glucose is stored as chemical bonds in glucose. Exergonic reaction is that releases energy, that is cellular respiration. Glucose, when it's oxidized in the body, it releases 6 CO2, 6 H2O plus, you have ATP is being released. এই গ্লুকোজটাকে ভেঙে এটিপি পাচ্ছ। তো একদিকে এখানে কি হচ্ছে, এইটাকে গ্লুকোজটাকে ভাঙলে what you have lots of ATP being formed. Now cellular metabolism, cell uses thousands of different chemical reactions, and this is what you know by the metabolism. Metabolism means compounds are synthesized by a chemical reaction, compounds are broken by a chemical reaction, and that can be anabolism or catabolism. So catabolism is breaking, and these bonds are broken, and in anabolism it is synthesized. Catabolism is exergonic and anabolism is enderogonic reactions. So anabolic pathways, for example, photosynthesis, carbon dioxide and water fuse together and form glucose. This is anabolic reaction. Catabolic, it is broken and ATP is formed, and that is catabolic reaction. Now let us talk about what is ATP. ATP is the universal energy carrier. Most cell processes use the same energy source, that is ATP, adenosine triphosphate. It has got an adenine nitrogenous base, it has got ribose 5 carbon sugar, and it has got phosphate, 3 phosphate chains. These phosphate chains have got high energy phosphate. So you break one of them, a lot of energy is released. This is an ATP molecule. So how does it work? The phosphate groups are held together by very high energy chemical bonds. Under certain conditions, the end phosphate can break away and energy released to the energy hungry reactions that keep a cell alive. এটিপিটা এই যে ঘ্যাচাং করে এই যে 1 phosphate, 2nd phosphate, 3rd phosphate, এইটাকে ভেঙে এনার্জিটা দিচ্ছে, and this energy gives the energy to the cell to do lot of work, not your sunlight. Sunlight is important for plants but not for you. You need to eat those plants. When the end phosphate is released, lot of energy is released into, and this ATP ADP comes from the food we eat. Glucose টা তৈরি হচ্ছে, গ্লুকোজ ভাঙছে, so ATP plus H2O. So এটা ভেঙে you have adenosine diphosphate plus inorganic phosphate release, and lot of energy is released in this, and this energy is used to do other chemical reactions. Then you dehydrate this, you can dehydration, you can remove water, and you can again synthesize. Ultota, you need energy. So cells get most of their energy by oxidizing carbohydrate, lipids, and proteins. This you know. Carbohydrates as energy, the storage sugar glycogen is broken down to glucose when needed. Almost all cells burn glucose, which is a 6 carbon sugar, to get energy. Then glucose is metabolized by glycolysis to pyruvate. The pyruvate can be further metabolized to acetyl coenzyme, which enters the Krebs cycle. You know all these things. You have studied them in your BSc days. Lipids, you know, triglycerides are broken down into fatty acids and glycerol. Fatty acids are ultimately broken down from beta oxidation into acetyl coenzyme A, which directly enter into the Krebs cycle for your ATP and energy. Proteins also can be used. They are converted to transamination, deamination into products which enter into the Krebs cycle. So energy releasing reactions, you have different ATP forms. ATP like for formation, energy requiring reaction. This ATP is required and cell is able to do work. To maintain your body at rest, you need about 2000 calories per day. This is known as the basal metabolic rate. So this is these foods will give you so much amount of energy. Then ATP is the main energy carrier. So energy input, ATP is formed, ATP broken, energy is given. So So I have stopped the sharing. This is end of today's class. Do you have any questions regarding energetics? প্রশ্ন আছে কিছু? Questions? Any questions? No questions then?
না স্যার।
ওকে, ওকে। তাহলে আজকে এখানেই শেষ করছি। আবার আমি দেখি নেক্সট ডে একটা অনলাইন ক্লাস নিয়ে নেব। নেক্সট ডে আমরা এনার্জেটিক্স নিয়ে পড়বো। এই এনার্জেটিক্স পড়লাম, তো নেক্সট ডে আমরা হাই এনার্জি ফসফেট কম্পাউন্ডস নিয়ে পড়বো। ওটাও আছে সিলেবাসের মধ্যে।